The 3 tapes. Prologue. The police report was brief. 3 videotapes were discovered in an abandoned house deep in the Appalachian woods. The house, long forgotten, had no records of ownership. The tapes, labeled 1, 2, and 3, were found inside a rusted VHS player, still plugged into a generator that had long since run dry. The footage was reviewed only once before being classified. 3 people had disappeared, and the tapes held their last moments. Detective Aaron Graves had seen his fair share of disturbing cases. Missing hikers, murder-suicides, bodies washed up in the river. But something about this one unsettled him before he even watched the tapes. Maybe it was the fact that the house didn't exist on any map. Maybe it was because the generator, despite being bone dry, had somehow left the player warm to the touch. Or maybe it was the smell inside the house, something like burnt hair and rotting meat, lingering even weeks after the tapes had been removed. Still, it was his job to review them. One by one. 1. The arrival. The screen flickered to life, the camera was shaky, held in someone's hands. It was night, and the glow of the car's dashboard illuminated 3 figures inside. "Say hi to the camera, losers," a voice laughed. The lens focused on a young woman in the passenger seat, her face half-lit in the dim light. "Jesus, Mike, do you have to shove that thing in my face?" she groaned, shoving the camera away playfully. Mike laughed behind the camera. "Come on, Claire, we are making history here. This is, like, some Blair Witch shit." From the driver's seat, a deeper voice spoke. "Yeah, except those guys were actors. We are actually gonna find something out here." The camera turned, revealing a young man with sharp features and a confident smirk. Muttered, Mike shifted the camera to focus out the window. Beyond the car, the trees stretched endlessly, their branches clawing at the night sky. The only light came from the car's high beams, cutting through the fog creeping along the road. The footage cut to them parking at the side of a dirt path. The trio got out, their breath visible in the cold air. "Okay," Mike said, zooming in on a crumpled map. "We followed this trail for, what, a mile? Give or take," Ben replied, shouldering a backpack. "The house should be just beyond the clearing." As they started walking, the camera picked up small details, the rustling of unseen creatures, the occasional snap of a branch behind them. Claire hesitated. "Are we sure this is a good idea?" Mike chuckled. "What, you scared?" She shot him a glare. "No. But people go missing in places like this." Ben waved a hand dismissively. "It's just an abandoned house. Worst thing we'll find is some old junk and maybe a couple of bats." But as they walked deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to press in closer. The air grew heavier, and then, the house came into view. It was ancient, its wood warped with age. Vines crawled up its sides like fingers digging into rotting flesh. The windows were black voids, empty and watchful. The front door hung slightly ajar, as if waiting for them to step inside. Mike adjusted the camera. "Well, here we are." The footage cut to black. 2. Inside. The next segment flickered on. They were inside the house now. The camera panned over peeling wallpaper, the floor covered in dust and dead leaves. The furniture was sparse, an old rocking chair, a rusted fireplace poker, a table with a single candle melted into its surface. "Smells like something died in here," Claire muttered. Mike panned the camera over the walls, revealing deep scratches in the wood. Long, jagged marks, too high up to be from an animal. "What the hell made those?" he whispered. A loud thud echoed from upstairs. The camera jerked toward the ceiling. "Probably just the house settling," Ben said, though his voice wavered. Another thud. Louder this time. Mike whispered, "You want to go check it out?" Claire shook her head violently. "Absolutely not." Ben, however, was already moving toward the stairs. "It's probably just a raccoon or something." The camera followed him. Each step creaked under their weight. The upstairs hallway was even darker, the air thick with dust. Then, from the farthest room, something moved, just a flicker in the darkness. A shifting shadow. "Who's there?" Ben called. No answer. Mike zoomed in, his breathing shaky, then a face. For a fraction of a second, just at the edge of the frame. Pale, wide-eyed, mouth slightly open as if whispering something. And then it was gone. The screen glitched. The footage cut to black. 3. They are watching. The final tape began. The camera was shaking violently now. Mike was running. His breath came in ragged gusts. The flashlight beam swung wildly, illuminating only glimpses of the house, walls smeared with something dark, symbols carved into the doors, screaming echoed from somewhere ahead. The camera swung around, catching a glimpse of Claire, her back pressed against the wall, staring at something off-screen. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Then, hands, pale, clawed hands emerging from the darkness behind her. The camera jerked again. Ben was on the floor, his eyes wide, unblinking. Something had ripped his throat open. A low whispering sound filled the speakers. The camera turned one last time, and the screen distorted. A figure stood at the end of the hall, tall, its limbs impossibly long, its face featureless except for two gaping black eyes. It reached toward the lens. The footage cut to static. Epilogue. Detective Graves sat in silence, the static still buzzing in his ears. The tapes had no clear origin. No explanation. The house, when searched, was empty. No signs of struggle. No bodies. Only deep scratches in the walls, and yet, the smell remained. Somewhere, in the quiet hum of the empty evidence room, the static flickered, the screen twitched. For the briefest moment, those black, gaping eyes appeared.